Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Thank you very much. Good morning, and thank you for that introduction, Rob. Yes, I've spent quite a lot of time studying telcos and others. I now run my own company, Connective Insights, and I focus on what stakeholders want, so finding out what people want and what's valuable. And I'm really grateful for Rob to invite me to be here today to talk about CPaaS. I was thinking about what did I think CPaaS meant. For a long time, I thought it was confusing propositions as a service. And I still think to some extent that's true because it's a very confusing world. I was reflecting on it. Really interesting hearing the last panel talking and a lot of technology there. What we're talking about is a little bit about telcos and about their vision and about, to some extent, putting CPaaS into perspective within that world. And I've got a great panel of telco representatives with me, and I'll ask you to introduce yourselves in a minute as we discussed. But before we do that, just so we know you a little, can I just ask for a show of hands, who in this audience is from a telecoms operator? So we've got, yeah, okay. How many people from technology companies? So a few more of those. Consultants and analysts? And anyone else? And what do you do? Yes. Oh, you're speaking to me. You're not looking for the zoo. That's okay. I just wanted to check that there was no. That's fantastic. Okay, so we've got quite a lot of technology folks here. So what we'll try and do is put a bit of a flavour on what telcos want, what they're like, what they're thinking about. You may feel I've spent a lot of time, obviously, looking at that, and I've also spent quite a lot of the last 6 months talking to CIOs and CTOs in telcos, funny enough, about what they want. And I was also reflecting on it a little bit and thinking, sometimes it's tempting to think of telcos as a slightly deluded, and if you're outside the industry, as a slightly strange and deluded creature because of the number of things that seem to go wrong, what they do. I really don't think they are. I think it's a lot to do with the structure of the industry. And I think there's a lot of sanity and a lot of clear thinking from what I've seen from the CTOs and CIOs and CEOs that I was talking to recently. But we'll come on to more of that. But let me ask the panel to introduce themselves. I'm going to be very dull and start left to right. Sebastian.
Thank you, Andrew. Yeah, I'm Sebastian. I work for Deutsche Telekom in the technology unit, and I am responsible for building a platform for our international wholesale unit, global carrier, that deals with so-called digital services, so new service portfolio, offering it in a new way, offering modern interfaces. And my personal focus is in that part, CPaaS and integration of these services into our customers and their customers' use cases, networks, whatnot.
Thank you, Sebastian. Have you been involved with the Ericsson thing at all, or is it just...
Not really, no. We're doing something different, but
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can talk to
That's
some
useful. So we know not to put you on the spot about that. Thank you. Colm.
Yeah. Hello. Hello, can you hear me? 1, 2. Hi, good morning, everybody. First of all, thank you, everybody, for your invite to the CPaaS event and CASA24. Colm Sunderland, I head up BT's, up till recently, global business development. So effectively a sales guy out in the market, working with a large cohort of customers in business-to-business sales. Taken up recently our hyperscaler indirect market and CPaaS. I'm based out of Ireland. I've been in the industry for 28 years and pretty much working in multifaceted technology areas from wholesale through to mobile networks, infrastructure, service capabilities. So looking forward to the discussion today.
Thank you, Colm.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Divya Wakankar, I'm from bics, which is part of the Proximus Group, an incumbent provider in Belgium. I lead the strategy, corporate development, and marketing at bics. In my previous roles, I have done product management, go-to-market, partnerships, and building up the networks as well at some point in time. So I'm quite passionate about the transformation that's happening in the industry, the IT transformation, digital transformation, and the new technologies, and how it is going to impact the landscape. It's a CPaaS conference, but I think it's beyond that as well, right? There's so much on the Internet of Things that's happening, on edge computing. So I think it's all going to come together at some point, and we are going to look into the discussion how it comes in the future.
Thank you, Divya.
Good afternoon. My name is Ahmed Omer, and I share with you the passion. I think I'm very delighted to be around colleagues and industry peers. And I think Rob was misleading people when it comes to the story of the CPaaS Acceleration Alliance. I remember 2 years ago, and it was, I think, Florida. We met me, him, and Kevin. And I think we was all frustrated because the whole exhibition was about contact center, and there was nothing about CPaaS. And we said, you know what, guys, we have to do something about the CPaaS industry, and here we go. I think it's a very unique community that they've created among this couple of years, and I think they deserve a very huge lot of applause, please. Thank you. So my name is Ahmed Omer. I come from E&. E&. is Etisalat, the leading telecom group within the Middle East. In fact, now we are actually expanding even to Europe. About 32 countries, 170 plus billion subscribers. And I come from a unit that actually take care of cloud communications only. That includes CPaaS. The experiments that the group have done as a telco is to move everything from a telecom to a technological conglomerates. And they made a cautious decision in the board to dismantle the businesses to be specialized in different areas. And one of them is a unit that's been created under the brand of EngageX. And it covers everything to do with cloud communications, including the CPaaS business. That's it.
Thank you, Ahmed, and thank you, panel. So I'm going to ask a few questions. First of all, starting out about what the vision of telcos in, let's say, 2030 is. It's far enough away to be the future, but near enough to be real. Then I want to talk a little bit about transformation, and lastly, what the challenges and opportunities are. With all of this, I want to keep CPaaS in mind in the sense we're putting it in context of what's going on in operators, okay? So a little bit of thinking about that. Divya, if you don't mind, I'd like to start with you because I was really taken with what you said about your journey at bics and what you've been doing. What do you see as the vision for, let's just talk about bics, but for telcos in 2030, and how does CPaaS fit within that?
Yeah, very good question, Andrew. So I think in 2030, we will see the networks are going to be democratized. What I mean by that is there's going to be APIs. We all talk about it quite a lot, but it's kind of an API economy that's going to be there. It's not that everybody is going to be a developer and go to the telco operator portal and build services or solutions out of it, but there is going to be democratization. There will be different players in the value chain who will play a role there. There will be system integrators, partners. You know, today we all have that. But for this, there's going to be a specific value chain that will come up in the market. It will be related to the IoT. I think we all looked into 40 billion devices will be there by 2030, right? So generating huge amount of data. For that, you need AI, right, to drive an engagement, to make sure that you have the insights out of those. So this all ecosystem will come together at some point in time. Today, we talk about when it's CPaaS, we are very much focused on messaging angle. You know, and now we have moved to network APIs. It will move to edge computing. It will talk about Internet of Things. So, you know, we are on a track to grow further, to increase the scope, I think. So, for me, the message to the CPaaS players in this room is to look further than messaging itself, and not only on the network APIs, but also look at other sides of the ecosystem. And that's going to be the trend. And there are, I think the previous panel talked about who's going to win, right? I mean, who is going to have a fair share here. But I think there's going to be direct channels and indirect channels, right? I mean, depending on, is it a regional play or it's going to be a global play, and how the enterprises or the businesses would like to, you know, work together with the network infrastructure. So there's a lot coming up. The future looks bright. I think we have to pass an optimistic message. I think Ivan is very right in saying that. And telecom industry is at the heart of the entire ecosystem of verticals, because we are delivering services to our customers, but we are also responsible to foster loyalty for other businesses, right? Be it a bank or an e-commerce or others, right? Because it's all about customer experience. The more they can have a great engagement creation via the telecom operator, their businesses are also going to thrive. So I think it's an ecosystem play, And we should have one voice as a group and make sure that we work together with other verticals and also with regulators at some point in time to make sure that we can open up our networks a bit more.
Thank you, Divya. That's a long and quite comprehensive answer. I'm going to remember something to come back to you with, but Ahmed, I'm going to go to you next. What's how do you see it? I mean, obviously, it's slightly different. You talk about Ian having formed now being a technology company. How do you see your role in the economy in 2030?
So in the context of CPaaS, I mean, it's very clear that we are trying, at least within the region, to go into two dimensions. One of them is to get depth in what we do in CPaaS, and the other one is to get width. And the width is very easy. It's about commercial expansions in the different regions that have also different cultural views when it comes to the CPaaS. But I think in the context of CPaaS in the future, I believe that we need to turn the CPaaS API topics into a use case driven by value. And this is where I think a lot of us, we've been talking about the red oceans and the competition in prices for A2P messaging. We've done it to ourselves because at a point of time when COVID was there and it was contactless and one-time passwords and delivery was all driven by e-commerce platform, we've still charged the same amount. And this is where I think we have an opportunity now to drive the API business. It's a mean to an objective. Is where we will talk to the banks and tell them what is the use case. What are you trying to drive in terms of value of acquisition, churn, reductions, even saving on the operational excellency. And at least on the enterprise grade, we should be bold enough to link our value proposition to what the customer will save or make money eventually. It could be a percentage of the actual growth engine that he's created or a saving amounts of what he's been. So my objective here is we've created now a library of 200 different use cases. They're actually pick and save, and we know today that they can fit a bank, whether the bank is available in Pakistan or in Egypt or in KSA. And the objective here is we don't want to charge them on transactional basis or API call, rather than what is exactly your objective in acquiring a set of customers. A new credit card, the generations, it's actually across the region, and we create a flavor on top of that, which is the consultancy. So I believe today that this flavor that will introduce 10% of what's the contract value look like will actually create sustainability for the industry peers, and this is where we need to stay away from transactions, API calls, and all the traditional thinking. This is the thought process that we have in EAND.
Thank you. So if I were to go back to Divya was talking about democratization, so playing a role in an ecosystem, you're talking about use cases and value driven. So those are the sort of words that came to mind. So I'm going to keep those words in mind. Sebastian, how about you? What do you see the vision? What's the vision for you for 2030?
Yeah, I think for me it's somehow, we're working on three things. We want to remain relevant, of course, when it comes to communications. As a carrier, we want to be easy to interact with and create value. So it comes a bit into what we heard earlier as well, CPaaS 3.0 or use case driven. So I think, why do I say remain relevant? Because of course, we don't just want to provide connectivity, we want to provide more. And that means we need to transform. Currently, we're pushing a lot of messages through, we're pushing a lot of voice minutes through as a wholesaler, but we want to do more in that, and we want to still remain relevant and keep that business and make it better for us and our customers. The next thing is easy to interact with. Of course, with APIs, that would be the standard obvious answer. We want to offer our customers APIs, but also from a process perspective. So we want to hide complex processes. We want to hide things that are done manually at the moment. We want to get rid of Excel sheets being sent around. So this is all what is, for us, covered under the term kind of transformation as well. So that's one of the points. And the last one is create value. Of course, as a wholesaler, we won't be dealing with many CPaaS customers directly, but through our partners, and we want to enable them get value that is in that market. We want to help them get value out of this market. And of course, very important for us is to do that in a compliant way. For us, that means we are focusing on Europe. We have an entirely European infrastructure without any US hyperscalers and other stuff. So we want to really use the points that we as a brand are known for and create business value for our customers with making our current connectivity proposition, high quality routes, all that stuff, better by adding kind of CPaaS features on top of that. And more, of course, not just CPaaS features, but my focus is CPaaS.
So relevance and change were two words I picked out of that. So I'm just sort of trying to put almost like a word cloud for you. Colm, to you, what the vision for 2030, what would you add?
Yeah. So it's supposed to, what I'd add is probably three things. One is, a seamless customer interaction.
Sorry, do you want to swap microphones with just by not working?
Sorry, can you hear me? Yeah, I suppose 3 points. I suppose seamless interaction for our customers, our indirect partners, consumers of a service. Second thing is secure. Making sure that you've got a secure, seamless interaction, whether it's financial, whether it's personal, Medcare, etc., and then that is sustainable. We're building platforms and services now. We have to ensure that they're sustainable long term. They're eco-friendly for our climate, and have a longer term strategy. One of the things that BT is doing in this space is around a global fabric or cloud infrastructure as a service capability. And I think we've talked about CPaaS, and in the context of CPaaS, UCaaS, or contact center as a service capability, you need to think of it as an ecosystem. We talk of 5G at the edge, so how do you get those ecosystems to interoperate, to work together, in a seamless operating model? Bandwidth on demand, scalability, looking at intent-driven interactions from the consumer. So if we take, long-term vision is that when I'm at home in the house and I'm talking, hey Google or hey Siri, that it's not a new interaction every time I talk to it. It's learned from the previous interaction, and looking at APIs, looking at ML, large language models, etc., to be able to drive the intent across the network infrastructure back to a cloud computing level. And the only way we're going to sustain that long term is via APIs, being able to make services automated as much as possible. That service can spin up on demand. You can tear them up, tear them down, line with like campaigns in the industry that we were driving more interactions from a customer base. So for me, sustainability, seamless interaction, and ensuring that it's secure long term.
Okay, and I mean, I always have a very simplistic understanding of things. So I always think like APIs basically are a good way to get a piece of data you want. That's fundamentally. And what I liked about what you said about Ahmed was about value. Is what's the value of that? What's the importance or value of that piece? One of the things I find quite hard to follow sometimes when I look at the telecoms industry narrative of it is exactly where that lies. So I think what you're all saying to me sounds right. So you're trying to move towards a world where that value is more clear, where it's immediately available to customers, where it's presented on a use case basis, it's presented in a way that's relevant, and it interacts with other services. So all sounds great. How well is the industry doing? How well are you doing? I was thinking maybe I should put you on the spot and say, give yourselves a mark out of 10, but I thought that would probably be a bit unfair. But let's talk about transformation as the second part of the sort of three-stage journey for us. Transformation is an old word, dare I say, in the industry. It's been used a lot. What does it mean in this context? What's different and what's new? I mean, I think, Sebastian, when you and I spoke, we talked quite a lot about the difference in the terms of consumption. It's very difficult to do a lot of this stuff at the moment, and part of the transformation is about making it easier. Would you like to elaborate on that a little bit, and then can I just get the views of the rest of the panel? What does it mean, transformation in the specific context of APIs and CPaaS?
Yeah, I mean, for us as a wholesaler, we have traditional ways how our customers interact with us via Excel sheets, via order forms, and so on. And our first step, actually, even though it sounds simple, but the first step of kind of transformation was trying to get some of these processes available online, available through a portal. One example is our number ordering process. In the past, it went through forms, and now we have a portal where you can order numbers, where we provide and check all the regulatory requirements and all that stuff. So we make it easier to interact with, and step by step, and that's the first part. The second part is also the process in the back end, because of course these Excel files got sent around, got processed by different people in the company, and the first step is offering your customer more interface. The second step is having all these processes that you have in the back also automated and digitized, however you want to call it. And I think that part, aligning all of that and making sure you really have an experience that your customers expect in the 21st century, I think that is some of the harder part. Yeah, I think getting an API out there is not rocket science, but all the other processes making sure things are integrated. Our CPaaS proposition is kind of connected to our customers' legacy rate plans. So whenever they have a voice and messaging rate plan, we just add CPaaS on top of that, and they can make business on that. And all the IT requirements for that, we know how hard it is. So we try to implement them as good as possible, as quickly as possible, but also for our customers, offer them some ways of simplifying their own IT integration. Yeah, so that's another part that we also know our customers. We expect them to be have to deal with similar challenges as us. So we try to have kind of some things they would usually have to reflect in their own IT provided by our solutions for other carriers. Yeah, so I think that's an important part that it's not. 5G network API is an advanced thing. You want to control networks by APIs, but I think it starts really with the processes, being able to sell it, being able to easily interact with the commercial model behind it. Yeah, one thing is an API that scales across all the networks. If you need to do contracts with each of these networks, you have the same challenge that you were before, even though you have one API. And we try to kind of solve that part as well by kind of getting also the telco complexity that's not part of the technology under the roof of our service portfolio.
What I took out of our conversation before was that the back end is really difficult. Changing the organization is the hard part of the transformation, and making all the stuff behind the interface work. Would anyone else in the panel like to add stuff on the transformation? I'm going to try and speed this up a bit. Go on, shoot.
Yeah, I'll go for it. So we have kind of a program in our company looking into the transformation of the company, and customer centricity is the central piece for that, right? So we look, as Sebastian talked about, we look at the business processes, try to make it simple for our customers. So that's step number one. Then we are looking into upgrading our network. And there we always look into creating microservice architecture. You know, that's also called a composable software network, right? So being a carrier, we have hardware, right? I mean, we have to be proud of the investments that we have done into it. But we are making sure that we have the software layer that can be controlled, you know, in terms of microservice architecture, that we can have a detachment between the hardware and the software, and we can take care of that. So that's work in progress. It takes time. It's happening now. Then we are also looking into adoption of cloud, and by that, we are trying to bring our data in the cloud so that we can derive insights, we can make self-healing networks, you know, that all those stuff is going on in that direction. In addition to that, we are also skilling our people, so that we have a specific program which is called Elevate AI in the company, making sure that all resources, not only the technology people, but also from the legal department, from the finance department, they also understand what it means, right? What is artificial intelligence? What is cloud adoption? What you should go for? We have a target of making sure that we have 100 cloud practitioners by end of that's one of our KPI, by end of 2024. So we are kind of growing that in our company to make sure that we are not only taking care of the network and architecture, but also our people.
Thank you. Anything else to add on the transformation score?
I think probably for the telco peers, I would like to put it in a bold statement that don't transform. Transformation in the core telco company might be very exhaustive when it comes to resources, people, and time, and the opportunity window is very, very narrow for the telco to really take advantage of it. I think, first of all, you need to look into this from a strategical point of view. Don't do transformation. Create a unit, a team, a company that can look into this business. And this is what we've done, for example. It was a very bold decision to have a separate brand company that has a P&L managed by someone, the full supply chain from sales to pre-sales to delivery, operation, and support, fully responsible and accountable of this growth, report to the board, but also exposed to the board. So if you really don't do it right, you get screwed up. But that's easier and faster for you to capture the opportunity window. Now, this is when it comes to the strategy, where you need to fix it in the top. Then you will come to the processes, which is automating everything from lead to cash. But I think the core challenge that we have in our region is people, talent, because bringing the same sales, pre-sales, delivery engineers, people who used to sell telco, will not really work here. It won't tail with the customer. It will not resonate with him when it comes to the engagement. So we've decided to generate a change from the strategical point of view. So my sales team are not really sales. They are customer experience growth consultants. and they are mapped into specific accounts where they are in charge of farming the accounts and looking at the growth of the accounts to the customer himself. Our pre-sales are not pre-sales, they are center of excellency, so they are the people who actually not only design the solutions, but also deliver. So they take responsibility of what they sold to the customer, and they've been incentivized and commissioned accordingly. And there is a unique team that we've created called Developer Advocate. And that's a very interesting concept that we've created. Young, fresh graduate developers who knows about 40 different programming language, and their role in life is to connect the dots. The API sale will not really work on a standalone basis if the enterprise customer doesn't use it. So we brought these guys, they sit down with the customer, they try to talk to the 40 application at his back end and business processes, and try to create a meaningful use case when it comes to using the API. So for me, it should start top down, go and talk to your board or CEOs and etc., transforming the actual telco, and it was painful for us until we decided to really dismantle everything and make people really specialize in the different area. Yeah.
Thank you. That's quite a different approach to that. And how about you, Colm?
Yeah, I suppose the word transformation is used probably too much in the industry rather than evolution. So, you know, evolving your business from where it is to where you want to go in terms of your strategy long term. I like to look at, you know, API capability is take Johan Cruyff, great Dutch footballer. He liked to play, you know, one-touch football. So if you can develop your existing systems and evolve them to have that one-touch effect, that you're able to leverage technology, APIs, you know, machine learning, to evolve your products and services to make it a seamless interaction with customers. You know, we talked about having APIs for the wholesale telco market. You know, BT operates in that space. You look at network as a service API capability. What you need to do is be able to bring the people along with that change journey, so that the people are evolving themselves. Because, you know, to be honest, every organization is looking to evolve and become, you know, the next best in the market at their own propositions and products. You can only do that by enabling the workforce to be able to bring you on that journey. So if people are upskilling constantly, you know, learning developer work, being able to actually get used to developing JSONs or SDK files to be able to spin up API capability, that's where the evolution happens within our organization. I think once, you know, businesses achieve that in the telco world or in the CPaaS world, it'll make it a faster go-to-market capability within the industry.
Thank you. I was just looking at the sort of statues that sit around the edge of the hall here, and you know, there's a statue of Atlas dragging the world with a giant chain. And sometimes that comes to my mind when I hear telcos talking about change in the organizations. You know, they're stacked up against quite a lot of different situations and organizational structures. It's quite a hard, big thing to do. In the context of a business environment where telcos, I mean, I remember when we were looking at the charts earlier from the CPaaS industry of the, you know, the valuations, the telco industry went through that sort of process a few years ago. And the telco industry is a little bit, I think, on the point of not quite a resurgence yet, but I think it's in an inflection point. I think that the technology is starting to be available in telecoms to change things, and people are now have a realistic appraisal of the problems. I'm saying this having spoken to CIOs for the last 6 months, as well as this great panel. And things are going to start to move forward, but there's still a ball and chain around it. Within a world also, therefore, where growth is quite slow and incremental, how is CPaaS and how are APIs seen beyond the kind of hype? We've all seen the Ericsson announcement, everybody's hyped up about one gateway, etc. But realistically in telcos, APIs in CPaaS, if you go and, you know, let's make this really sort of practical and day-to-day. If you go and work in CPaaS or APIs in telcos, is it sexy? Is it the place where people go, I can't wait, I've got to be in that place? Or is it something that's just a little bit esoteric? Or, I mean, I really don't know the answer to this question. I'm fascinated to know what you guys think. And maybe I'll start with you, Ahmed, because you're smiling at me. foolish thing to do.
I think this is what we talk all the time when it comes to the board meetings, the CEOs, the evolutions of the actual business. And this is where I think we need to evolve between among us as CPaaS peers, that this CPaaS story might not last for long. And this is where the transformation of the concept should go into CX as a service. And this is where it will resonate better with the evolution that happens today in the AI. But it will also make sense to the investors, to the board, to the CXOs, to the people who looks at the industry from outside. We've seen how does the evolutions of the multiplier has actually gone down. CPaaS 2 years ago was one of the most hot market when it comes to the M&A. It's not the case anymore. So I believe today that we need to rethink about the CPaaS, from CPaaS to customer experience as a service. And of course, the concept here is to create use cases driven by CPaaS, but not also by CPaaS. We need also to become...
I'm afraid you've suffered from the microphone bingo. We'll have to play pass the baton.
Yeah. I think we need to rethink big, try to get closer also to the other line of business, the contact center, for example, the CRM, the MarTech. It all trying to play also in an area of CPaaS, and we've seen now that this line is becoming more and more gray, where CRM applications are trying to become CPaaS, CPaaS are trying to become contact center, and it's all mixed in the situation. So my humble view is we need to rethink about our CPaaS story and make it more sexy, let me say it. But I think the network API discussion is the gold mine, is the new gold mine. We believe today that the CPaaS player are the best player to resell these network APIs. Telcos should not sell network APIs. It will not work. And regardless of all of the JVs, connections, Camara, and all of this standardization they're trying to create, it's been slow, like the RCS over time. I believe today that there should be another layer of players that on top of the aggregator should handle this from the telcos and try to resell it in the market in a way that's convenient to the regulation, to the culture, to the country that they are operating in. Creating this international standardizations might not do as good, and it might harm us in some of the areas where it's more restricted, like KSA, for example. Exposure of location-based service is impossible, or some other places in Asia where the data privacy is also a concern. So these are the two directions. One is to rethink about our strategy of CPaaS to CX. Second, try to create this new players that can really resell the telco APIs in more efficient way, relevant to the culture and the region.
Thank you. Other members of the panel, any views on that? About, what is it, is CPaaS, are APIs interesting in telcos? Do people want to work in them? Colm?
Yeah, look, very much CPaaS is a definite area of influence, I think, for the market. I'd like to just take a step back first. You talked about, the telco industry and the curve. I think we're at an inflection point where the value chain on network as a service capability is going to underpin an awful lot. If you're driving a business and it's a multi-million-pound business, but you're actually pushing it over a broadband service into your business, the cost of that going down to an organization is significant. So where you see real value coming in with the development of APIs and AI is actually understanding the transactional processes that are happening in an ecosystem, driving the value chain of network as a service up the stack in terms of organizational value.
Do you think that BT, specific, do you think that BT understands the value proposition of network APIs? I know that's putting you on the spot slightly, but...
Yeah, no, absolutely we do. I think, we've set out a clear strategy as an organization that it's the future. We see the orchestration of BT's core backbone and network. We're completely changing out our backbone globally. We're going with network as a service, pay-as-you-go operating model. So you think any network to any cloud, you can spin up, 10 gig, 100 gig pipe between AWS, GCP, Digital Realty, Equinix. You can go to any of the 700 data centers around the world and consume network as a service on a pay-as-you-go model. That is only achievable through the orchestration of API capability that, partners of ours, our customers in the market can consume that as a service to drive and empower their own business. So APIs absolutely are at the forefront, but then you need to layer on, AI on top of that to actually learn what's my customer buying behavior going to be in 2-3 years' time. We've seen that they have, marketing spikes, marketing trends in their organizations from a buying capacity. So you're going to be able to predict that you spent this much with us last year in terms of monetizing, and then be able to give organizations, I suppose, a clear vision going forward that here's what you achieved from that campaign, as an example. Here's what your return on investment was, and here's from an infrastructure play what that actually costs you to
I'm going
deliver.
to stop you there. Return on investment. When we were talking before, Divya, I was thinking, you built a lot of the enterprise business at bics. Return on investment. Yeah, because you pulled the bad microphone. The return on investment, you were saying that's one of the big challenges, how to prove that.
Yeah, indeed. I think that's one of the biggest challenge, and especially for the telecom operators, right? Because there is a lot of investment ongoing in the fiber side of the domain, right? So ROI is a big challenge, and also for the CPaaS providers. But I think the telecom operators are kind of really trying to figure out. So this is kind of a fresh air for them to have network APIs, to make sure that their network can be, they can open the network for other players to play a role, and whether it is direct or indirect selling, it depends, right? It depends on the customers, depends on the region and others. So I think that's gonna derive, we will figure it out if the APIs are gonna be a success or not, and if the operators are going to invest further in 6G technology as well, right? Because that's coming up, the standards are in the process at the moment. But I also agree with Omar on the point that the boundaries are blurring, right? CPaaS is no longer a CPaaS as a standalone thing anymore. If you look into how Salesforce is trying to, bring AI on top of their platform, with be it Service Cloud or Sales Cloud, if you look at CCaaS providers, so everything is coming together, and I think CPaaS players have to look into all aspects of it, in addition to the network APIs.
So is it realistically a niche part of the portfolio? So I chose my words a bit, to make that difficult. Is it a niche part of the portfolio or an important, as part of the portfolio?
Yeah, it is part of the portfolio, but you cannot keep it as a standalone part of the portfolio.
Right.
You need to make integration with other partners, and I think partnership is kind of the way to go forward in that case, right? I mean, you should not be reinventing the wheel always, but you can make sure that you have strategic partnerships being developed with other players, be it hyperscalers or software providers and others. And big enterprises look for one-stop shop many times, and that's why system integrators play a bigger role there, right? So I think that's also one of the key pillars in the ecosystem that should be brought together in this space as well, actually.
So part of the evolution, going back to the conversation about transformation, is building it into other services or building it with other services. Is that what you're seeing and that what you're trying to do?
Exactly, that's also what we're trying to do. So you mentioned DJV earlier. That's one type of partnership that Deutsche Telekom does. Another partnership that we chose is a more technology-focused partnership. So we own our connectivity. We know, our customers choose us for the quality of our routes, and we wanted to put CPaaS at the layer. And what does CPaaS mean? It means communications APIs, advanced capabilities, text-to-speech, speech-to-text, AI, all that stuff on top of it. And we still believe this is a technology we want to have together with a technology partner, and then building on top of that applications, use cases, integrations, and partner on that level with other companies, let's say. So the CPaaS layer for me is one that, a carrier should be close to. It's exciting, to answer your earlier question, it's exciting to work in it because it's a technology stack that enables a lot. You can use it internally. We are currently only talking about wholesale, of course, but if you look at it, residentially, CPaaS essentially allows you to decouple the SIM card from the phone number, all that stuff that you could do with CPaaS. The question is, when is the right time for it? And I think for CPaaS, even though the notation is here and there that we are late to the game, actually, I believe for us, it seems to be the right moment for it, because we see customers coming to us or customers of our customers telling that they are asked for connectivity because they are the communications carrier. Whoever needed CPaaS in the last years had already chosen their solution. But there are many, many, many companies, many businesses that now start, many IT integrators that get new requirements, be it EU residentiality or some other stuff that are coming to the go-to point, and this is their operator. And to have an offer that you can basically present to your customer, and for us to be maybe the enabler of that offer is the exciting part. And I think this is really one of the points where I would say it's a good time, it's the right time. Maybe we're a bit late, but on the other hand, we're not really innovators, so it's good to be late, to see what works, to build up that layer, maybe even CPaaS 1.0, to build that up first, but of course to know what you build it up for, and that's not just to sell it without anything, but to actually sell it for 2.3 and 2.0 and 3.0 if we take the picture earlier. So I think certainly that's what we want to do, but we certainly also see value in the basics, because for us that's transformative, and our customers are asking for it. So.
Thank you. I just need to check with time. Rob, how are we doing for time? I'm sorry, I didn't make a note of the time.
I think you have about 5 more minutes.
5 more minutes. Okay. Useful for all of us. Actually, I'm just thinking, just to kind of, it's that time of day, would anyone in the audience like to ask a question of the panel? We've got this great panel of telcos. They've explained how CPaaS fits within the world, the transformations they're trying to make, challenges they have. Are there any questions that you folk have for them? Sir, I don't know if we have any more microphones that we can distribute. There's a slight panic at the back because I didn't tell them that I was going to do this, but I only just thought of it, so can't time travel, sorry. So could you show the...
Thank you. So to Ahmed, I'm very interested in what you were saying about not selling CPaaS as such. I'm just curious as to how are you doing this? Like, how do you productize?
Yeah. So if you look at the actual consumer journey in interaction with any brand, there are 6 different stages. From the time that the brand is trying to become aware, just educate the audience on awareness, communication, sales, fulfillment, delivery, and support, and there is continuous engagements where there is loyalty. You bring the customer back to sales. So if you look at these 6 different stages of the consumer journey, we've tailored the API discussions into use cases. So if it's a customer support case, so you actually have a layer of development that you interact with the customer internal business processes. So you inject 1 developer, you call 2 APIs, A2P, WhatsApp for Business, probably a conversational AI agents. But you lump sum all of these in a transactional basis. And this is where we've made it bold to say that we've linked to the customer success. So if we don't see the traffic, we don't get our money. But the charges that we do charge the customers is not the standard charges that you see in WhatsApp and Meta's pages or the standard A2P messaging prices that you see in the operator's website. So we add a good amount on this transactional money, but we don't charge the customer anything else. So he still see it transactional, but he see a fully loaded price on the transactions compared to the standard API calls prices. I hope that answered your question.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
I'll come to you in a minute, Dean. I just question, which of the use cases would you say are the top 2 or 3?
So everyone knows today that, we are among friends here. It's a CPaaS community and it's like group therapy. We know today that the 2 use cases are the promotional campaigns, so everything that the brands are trying to send to the consumer in terms of awareness, so the discounts, the aware about the new products, the credit cards, and of course the transactional part when it comes to delivery, fulfillment, and notification, and of course the one-time password plays a majority portion of these use cases. But this is where the diversifications comes in the picture. So we've created customer case-related use cases where it should offload some of those transactional. A good example was on a logistic company for delivery, where we was trying to reduce the number of visits of the drivers to deliver. We've done it the other way back by introducing a very good engine to authenticate the customer and make sure today that he's available at the time, location that he has for the last 5, 6 times. So there is few techniques to diversify, but I still see that majority of the traffic is going towards promotional and transactional traffic.
Thank you. Sorry, Dean down over here had a question, so I don't know if we've got a sprinter amongst the microphone carriers. Oh, he's got a shouter, that's okay.
We talk a lot about telcos sort of selling API access or CPaaS services. I'm curious about the other side, about buying APIs. What's the relevant, if you like, balance of payments of sort of import versus export for APIs for telcos? Do you consume as well as provide?
Anyone want to take that one? Colm, do you want to have a go?
Yeah. Look, absolutely. In the market, I suppose it's about partnership. This is dead. No, about partnership. Okay. So APIs are both northbound and southbound in terms of interaction. So to consume services, and just think of it as an ecosystem. We've got the best in breed here in SMS. Network infrastructure in particular countries. We've got cloud services capability, compute power. So you need to consume all of those to build your own ecosystem and have your CPaaS offering in the market. Anybody who claims to do it alone, well, I'd like to see the back end of that engine. It's something that to deliver a true customer experience, you need to build an ecosystem, a partnership, and the APIs are fundamental in that in terms of northbound and southbound consumption of services. So to answer the question in short, yeah, absolutely, you need API integration at both levels.
I can share our experience in the telco group that we are in. So I believe the telco, and this is what's happening actually in reality, they sell me wholesale commodities of standard connectivities of voice, SMS, and of course not WhatsApp because I communicate with Meta, but I resell it to them on a use case basis. So we are a subsidiary part of the group, so we serve not only the telco, but we serve also other non-telco companies like Kareem, for example, which is the Uber of the... But the way that we do it is we wrap up this wholesale commodity that we buy from the major telco and resell it again to the telco for their consumer and business transaction when they want to sell or support. And I think this model really worked very well because this is where I believe today that the telco are always good at wholesale because of the ecosystem, because of the sales channel, because of the people that they have in the supply chain. And this is where these small companies or small experiments are the easiest one to import and export. So they can actually sell them back and they can sell through to the market.
I would like to add to Dean's point. When I talk about the network upgrade, right, so we are talking about virtualized SBCs or, right, the packet gateways which are virtualized in the network, right? So we are using the AWS components or Azure components to do that, right? So we are using the APIs, we are using EC2 engine and others, right? So we are building our network capabilities on top of cloud services that are offered, utilizing their APIs, and then, of course, making sure that we have northbound interfaces through APIs also.
And by the way, we are selling also to the other telco competitors in the same country. So I don't sell only to E&, as a telco, but I sell to STC Zain in Saudi, for example, or Do in UAE, for example. And that's give a better coverage for telcos.
So I have a last comment, and then I think we're going to hand back to Rob, if we may.
Yeah, I think already it's natural with service evolving like RCS that you also buy because that's the way you're connecting to other endpoints essentially. But one important point I want to mention for us is as well that we found it, when we talk to customers actually needing CPaaS APIs and capabilities, we found us always talking about how easy it is to integrate, and then they mentioned they have an API on their own, but they have nothing to put the two things together. So for us, actually an integration environment, an orchestration layer is part of what we offer to our customers so that whenever they don't have system integrators, when they don't have anyone who can run that little bit of code putting two APIs together, they can use a solution by us that's also run in our data center and where you can put also private data over it. So essentially being able to integrate with customer APIs and being able to orchestrate other services is for us a very essential element because we figured that not everyone whom we plan to sell to our customers interact to have these capabilities. So consumption, maybe not buying, but consumption of other APIs in building products and making the product more valuable is certainly a very important point.
Thank you, Sebastian. And will you join me in thanking all of the panel for being so open and honest and interesting? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And back